Your street goes dark tonight. No warning, no ETA, no idea when it comes back. The gear that actually gets you through it isn't the $200 tactical kit collecting dust in your closet. I've been through 3 real blackouts up close, and every single time, it was the dollar store stuff people laughed at that mattered most. 11 items, all cheap, all sitting on a shelf. You've walked past 100 times, and number 1 is the thing almost nobody thinks to grab until the lights are already out. Before we start, none of these items are impressive sitting on a shelf. What makes them essential is knowing exactly what they do when everything else fails, and what they quietly replace. Watch for the moment each one outperforms the serious version people spend real money on. Let's start with the obvious one. Number 11. Flashlight and a spare pack of batteries. People assume the fancy tactical flashlight is the smart buy. It isn't. A $1 flashlight with fresh batteries beats an $80 one with a dead battery every single time. And that's not a knock on good gear, it's just what actually gets used at 2 in the morning. Back during the 2003 Northeast blackout, 55 million people lost power in a single afternoon. Within hours, hardware stores on the Upper West Side had lines out the door for batteries. Not fancy gear. Batteries. That's what people actually reach for when the grid goes down. The mistake almost everyone makes isn't skipping the flashlight. It's buying one, calling it done, and forgetting about it. 6 months later, the batteries are dead, corroded, or missing, and you find that out exactly when you can't afford to. A spare pack costs less than a coffee. Grab 2. Use it for reading, walking a hallway without cracking a shin on furniture, checking a breaker box safely, or signaling to someone outside. None of that works with a dead flashlight sitting in a drawer. So don't just own the light, own the backup for it. But light doesn't help you eat dinner once the power's been out a day. Number 10. Manual can opener. You stocked up on canned food. Good instinct. Here's the question nobody asks until it's too late. What happens when your only can opener is the electric one plugged into a dead outlet? Prep guides keep flagging this as the most commonly forgotten piece of an entire food stockpile. Not the food, the tool that gets you into the food. 40 cans of soup and vegetables lined up on a counter, and somebody stabbing at a lid with a butter knife by flashlight. That's not a hypothetical. That's the exact scenario this dollar item exists to prevent. A manual can opener costs about $1, and it unlocks every other dollar you already spent stocking your pantry. It's not glamorous. It'll never make anyone's cool gear list. But it's the tool that makes every other food item in your kit actually usable, which is a different kind of essential than most things on this list. Keep one in your kit and one in the kitchen drawer. Never just one total, because the one time you need it is never the time you remember where you put it. Food is only safe once the water around it is. Number 9. Plain, unscented bleach. People will drop $20 on a filtration straw when a bottle already sitting under their sink does the same job for a fraction of the cost. That's not an opinion, that's how the CDC and EPA actually recommend treating water in an emergency. 8 drops of plain, unscented bleach per gallon of clear water. Double that if the water looks cloudy. Stir it. Let it sit for 30 minutes, and if it doesn't have a faint chlorine smell, do it again. Say that once and you'll remember it forever. 8 drops, 1 gallon, 30 minutes. This matters most after storms, when boil water notices drag on for days and wells get compromised by flooding. There's nothing quite like staring at cloudy tap water with no way to know if it's safe. That uncertainty is worse than most people expect. And it's solved by a bottle that costs about $1 and does nearly the same job as products marketed at 10 times the price. Just one rule. It has to be plain and unscented. Check the label before you check out. Scented bleach doesn't work for this, and lemon fresh anything is the wrong bottle. Once water and food are handled, the next failure point is holding things together. Number 8. Duct tape. I used to think duct tape was just for boxes. Then I watched it hold together a cracked window, a torn tarp, and a busted bag strap, all in the same week during a bad storm. One roll, 3 completely unrelated jobs. People assume this needs a fancier tactical version to actually work. It doesn't. For sealing a draft, securing a tarp, or rigging an emergency splint, the dollar roll performs exactly like the $12 branded survival tape. The tactical packaging doesn't change the adhesive underneath it. A cracked window letting in cold air overnight, and nothing to seal it. That's an easy fix with tape and a scrap of cardboard, and a miserable night without it. It's such an ordinary item that it never makes anyone's list of real prep gear, which is exactly why people forget to grab extra. Grab 2 rolls. One stays in the kit, one stays in a drawer, because you'll end up using this on things that have nothing to do with an emergency. Repairs matter, but none of it keeps you warm on its own. Number 7. Mylar emergency blanket. It's not just for staying warm, though that's reason enough. These thin, foil-looking sheets use the same reflective insulation principle developed for space agency engineering, and they fold down small enough for a coat pocket while still holding in a serious amount of body heat. A blanket built off aerospace research, sold for $1. That contrast is worth remembering on its own. A stalled car on a cold night. One of these folded up in the glove box, that single sheet is the difference between a rough hour and a genuinely dangerous one. And here's the part people don't expect. The biggest value of this item isn't really the heat. It's the calm that comes from knowing you have something between you and the cold, even if you never fully need it. That's a psychological win as much as a physical one. Use it for body heat retention, as a ground barrier, an improvised rain cover, or flip it reflective side out so someone can spot you. It looks like a flimsy piece of foil, which is exactly why people walk past it. Keep one per person in the house, not one for the whole family to fight over. Staying warm doesn't help if no one knows you need help. Number 6. Battery or hand crank radio. When 55 million people lost power across the Northeast in 2003, cell towers lost their backup power too. Networks degraded fast. Phones stopped being useful right when people needed information the most. Radios didn't. That's the whole case for this item in one image. An entire region's phones going quiet at once, while battery and hand crank radios kept working. A family refreshing a phone with no bars, no idea what's actually happening outside their own street. A basic radio sitting in a dollar store aisle for $1 or $2 solves exactly that problem. People assume their phone is a permanent backup for everything. It isn't. Once towers lose power or get overwhelmed, that assumption falls apart fast, and a radio becomes one of the only reliable ways to get real information. Pair it with the spare batteries you already grabbed earlier, because a radio with dead batteries is just a paperweight. Staying informed matters, but you also need somewhere to actually shelter. Number 5. Contractor-style trash bags. Here's a secondary use almost nobody thinks about. Heavy-duty trash bags aren't just for trash. Emergency prep guides keep listing them as one of the most genuinely multi-purpose items you can find at a dollar store. And once you run through the jobs they cover, it's easy to see why. Window coverage when glass breaks. An improvised poncho in the rain. Rainwater collection off a roof or gutter. And yes, waste containment, which turns into its own problem fast when trash service gets suspended for days after a storm. That's 4 or 5 separate specialty products replaced by a box that costs $1 or $2. Most people own 0 heavy-duty bags set aside specifically for this. They've got the flimsy kitchen kind, which tears the second it actually needs to hold up. Get the thickest, largest bags the store carries, and get a real box of them, not just a couple loose ones. Once shelter's covered, the next overlooked failure is light without fire. Number 4. Glow sticks. These aren't a party item. They're a direct answer to one of the deadliest mistakes people make in a blackout. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, candle use caused dozens of fires and was tied to fatalities in New York City alone. Not because people were careless, because candles were the obvious, instinctive choice for light when the power went out, and nobody thought twice about the risk. That's the whole reason this makes the list. A cheap multi-pack of glow sticks gives you hands-free light, a way to mark a path down a dark hallway, a way to signal your location, and a low, comforting glow for a kid who's scared of the dark, all without an open flame anywhere near curtains, bedding, or someone dozing off with it still lit. A candle burning too close to a curtain while everyone in the house is asleep isn't a dramatic exaggeration. It's a documented pattern from real blackouts. Grab a multi-pack, not just 1 or 2, because these are exactly the kind of item you'll hand out to everyone in the house without thinking twice. Light is one thing, but the ability to actually make heat is different. Number 3. A basic lighter. A lighter that costs $1 can outlast gear that costs 20 times more. A standard disposable lighter is commonly rated for somewhere around 1 to 3,000 strikes before it's empty. Say that number once. 1 lighter, thousands of strikes. That's not a stat you forget. People assume a real backup fire source needs to be complicated flint, ferro rods, some multi-tool with 6 attachments. It doesn't. A grill igniter clicking uselessly right when dinner depends on it is a familiar kind of frustrating. And a $1 lighter in a kitchen drawer outlasts that broken $40 igniter without even trying. Use it for lighting a stove, starting a controlled outdoor fire for cooking, or as a dead simple backup for any igniter that fails. Buy 2, one for the kit, one for the kitchen drawer, because the moment you need fire is never the moment you remember where you left it. Fire and food matter, but none of it means anything if someone gets hurt and there's nothing to treat it with. Number 2. Basic first aid supplies. People think first aid means a full kit with dozens of components. It really starts with 2 things: adhesive bandages and antiseptic. That's the bottleneck that actually matters most, not some rare dramatic injury. During a blackout, people are cooking by unfamiliar light, moving furniture around in the dark, walking through rooms they'd normally see clearly. Small accidents spike, and it's rarely the big traumatic injury that catches people off guard. It's the small kitchen cut with nothing clean to cover it, sitting there getting worse while nobody deals with it properly. $1's worth of bandages and antiseptic is what stands between a minor cut and something that gets infected days later, when a doctor's visit is a lot harder to get to. Restock a few extras every time you're at the store, so the kit never quietly runs dry without you noticing. Everything on this list keeps a body functioning. But number 1 is the one thing that keeps people functioning. Number 1, bar soap. Nobody brags about owning soap. It's the most mundane thing on this entire list, which is exactly why it's the one people forget. And it's exactly why it's number 1. Day 4 of an extended outage. The water heater's been dead the whole time. Regular routines have completely fallen apart. And the one thing people quietly start wishing they had more of isn't a flashlight or a radio, it's something as basic as soap. Across sustained disruptions, this is one of the items prep guides keep coming back to, both as a real sanitation need and as something with genuine, historically documented value as a barter item once normal supply chains break down. Something this ordinary turning into currency is the kind of detail that sticks with you. It's cheap enough to stock heavy and valuable enough to matter more than almost anything else on this list. You won't notice it until it's gone, and then it's the first thing everyone quietly wants to borrow. Here's how it all connects. Light isn't much good without something to keep you warm once the sun goes down. A lighter isn't safe to lean on without the plan glow sticks gave you, avoiding the exact fire risk candles created in 2003. Food isn't accessible without the can opener sitting quietly at the bottom of your kit. And none of it holds together if hygiene falls apart first, which is why the most overlooked item on this entire list is also the one holding everything else up. On your next trip to the dollar store, start with the cheapest, most overlooked one, the soap, and work your way backward up this list from there. None of this costs much. All of it adds up to something real. Which item on this list surprised you the most? And what would you add that didn't make the cut?